Mississippi. I drove down from Houston, Mississippi this morning with my lovely wife, Debbie, and it's an amazing thing about the power of a praying woman, one that prays for a heathen like me every day. It keeps our family going. I'm glad also to have Annabelle with me. 16 years ago today, I guess today, it was 16 years ago I spoke here, and Annabelle was 6 weeks old. And I'm glad to have her with me. And speaking of pretty girls, I was looking on the website to figure out what time I had to come speak here. And over the website, it had a pretty lady in the middle, had a slim fit, nice looking guy on one side, and then a jovial guy on the other side. It turns out that it was me and Marshall Barber and Governor Barber, and I kind of think back about those 16 years, and I kind of looked at Haley's girth, and I figured out his is about like mine now, so we've grown together, I suppose. This race for governor is about fighting for working people. That's all I've done as Attorney General, is fighting for those who can't fight for themselves, and thank you for the honor of letting me do that as Attorney General. When I mean people that can't fight for themselves, I mean the unborn, I mean the children, I mean those widows and elderly people that people in our office have fought for over the years. We've brought in $3 billion for the state of Mississippi, and that includes from big pharma, big tech, BP, big insurance. We've had many battles over the years, and we brought in $3 billion for working people in Mississippi. And so what happens, though, is, I bring that money in, and then the legislature squanders it somehow. They're spending it fast as I could bring it in. But there's been so many of those projects that have failed that I've had to spend a lot of time going out collecting money. Take Keyor. We lost $75 million in that boondoggle, and the private prison system. You know what happened with that? I recently got about $26 million back recovered on that case. So I'm running for governor for working people in the state of Mississippi. This is not about Republican or Democrat. People get all caught up in these party labels. Probably 25 years ago, it was, Republicans would stand here and say, vote for the person, not the party. Don't get caught up on these party labels. I'm running for working people in this state, and it makes a difference as to who you're working for, whether you're working for the large corporations that have taken our money for years, or if you're working for the working people in our state. There's several things that we plan on doing, and one of them is building roads. And I'm talking about public roads, not private driveways. That's 8,000 jobs with working people swinging hammers, and that's the way that you boost your economy. We can do better in the area of education. In the first 100 days as governor, we will pass 4K education, make a 4K available for every child in the state of Mississippi. We'll raise our teachers' pay, and we'll fund our schools. And lastly, we hadn't funded our programs in our VOTEC in high school like we should, so we're going to have to do it at least through the community college, like we're doing in my 5 counties up in northeast Mississippi. If you go to Itawamba Community College and you live in one of our 5 counties, you keep a 2.0 average, and you can't get a grant or scholarship otherwise, you can go tuition free. That is huge for those trade skills in that area. The northeast area did that. We can do that statewide because Tennessee copied us. They're actually doing that statewide. In Mississippi, it'd only be $6 to $8 million to make that happen for job skills. Another area is health care. And there's $1 billion that we've been thumbing our nose at the federal government for about 5 years, just because whose idea it is. That will keep our rural hospitals open in our state. That's 10,000 jobs. That's working people building clinics. Those are the best paying jobs in our rural communities and many of the healthcare clinics. Another area that I think we can do better on is cutting the grocery tax. Mississippi is one of the few states that charges a sales tax on groceries, and certainly has the highest. And that would help working people throughout the state of Mississippi. And lastly, of the 5 points that I can do as governor, is that we've got to clean up that legislature. The corporate interests have taken control of our legislature. You know that they've done it to our Congress, and they've done it here with our legislature with campaign contributions. So I say what we need to do is we need to ban corporate contributions. We need to ban them from taking money during the legislative session. We need to make sure that they aren't able to receive any gifts, to ban gifts to those legislators. and other elected officials. And lastly, but probably most importantly, is open the books on the legislature. You know, the House and Senate exempt themselves from the Open Records Act. Every other municipal, county, state government, our offices, the governor's office is subject to the Open Records Act, so you can see what they're doing. And where we lose our money, where our money is stolen from us, is when the doors are closed over at that legislature. They've given our money away. That's the reason we got over 500 bridges closed. Our schools need a lot of work done on them. There's so many things in areas that we failed on simply because they gave our money away. You know, they've given away about $768 million a year from our in tax giveaways. Those hadn't helped Mississippians, and one of the taxes was a $278 million franchise tax. 78% of that went to large out-of-state corporations. It didn't help Mississippi Main Street business in the least. So, you know, this race is kind of heating up. You know, on the other side, I know y'all came to hear me throw a few rocks, and the others as well, but when the others are fighting, I've always been told you just let them fight. And so I'm trying to bite my lip on some of these things, but you know, there's to save some of our rocks, and we certainly got plenty of them because of the problems that they've created over the last 8 years in our state. You know, the next couple speakers are probably going to tell you how great the economy is. Well, you ought to ask what the facts are. You know, the state economist says that our growth rate has been 2% since the Great Recession in 2009. 2%. Tennessee has grown at a rate of 23%. Arkansas at 14 and Alabama at 11. What we're doing, folks, is not working. You know it and I know it. Our children are leaving our state more than any state in the union the past 6 years. We've got to do something to turn that around. Now, you know, they're going to tell you that the test scores are up and those kind of things. Well, they are, but it's not because of the cuts in the legislature. It's in spite of the cuts. It's because of our good teachers in our schools have been working 30 and 40 years to increase our scores. You know, when you see that kind of money that is going out the door in our legislature, where they hand out these tax cuts, that's what's caused our problems. You know, they stand there on TV in Jackson and hold their palms up, saying, "Well, we wish we could fix these bridges," like they're looking for rain. You know, what it is they gave it all away, and that $768 million, when you compare it with our $6 billion general fund budget, you know, that's where money went. So we got to make sure that we take back our legislature. And you're going to hear them get up here and talk about some liberals up in Washington. You know, that's when you better watch out about this partisan labeling stuff. You need to pay attention to it, because when they start talking about labels and not about issues, there's something going on there. It is something that you need to look through. In fact, one of them about to speak is one of those that acts like those in Washington. All he's in there for is to raise campaign funds. Where do y'all think that $7 million came from? It came from us. He sold us out for our state, and it's time for us to take that legislature back. Now, I go over to the legislature. I talked to Democrats and Republicans before I decided to run in this race. A lot of Republicans encouraged me to run. They don't see me as being partisan either way. They know that the most likely group that we're going to get reelected are going to be conservative, just like it is right now. I wouldn't have run if I didn't calculate that into the situation. No crazy laws or liberal stuff is going to get passed in that legislature. See, you ask them, you know, what are you talking about, liberal and all the Washington stuff? I mean, that's got nothing to do with what will happen here in Mississippi and what that legislature passes and what I'll sign as governor. I live up in Chickasaw County among working folks, African American and Hispanic and white folks that live around me. Those are the folks that I've fought for my whole career. So if you want to see a governor in our state that'll fight for roads, then join me. Do you want to see our education system better? Then join me. Do you want to see our rural hospitals stay open and our health care better? Then join me. This is an important race. I'm sure politicians have stood up here for hundreds of years and told people that, but we're at a turning point. Our kids are leaving our state, going to Nashville, Atlanta, and all these other cities. It's time for us to take our state back from the corporate interests that have controlled our legislature. It's time for us to put Mississippi families first. And with your help, that's what I will do as governor of the state of Mississippi. God bless you and thank you.